What's good, people? It's Chi for Chi First, and I just wanted to give you a quick overview of a few pieces of software, all the softwares that I'm using basically for running comps, and just give you the pros and cons of all these different softwares. Comping is it's an art, and it's not always easy. You don't always get it right. I don't know that anybody can always get it right. We can come close. There's some people who are really good at it. There's some people who are really bad at it. And we see that when properties fail on the MLS, when wholesalers fail to get properties sold, when investors abandon a property and try to resell it to get their money back when they realize that they've gotten over their heads in a renovation. Running numbers is the foundation of real estate investing, right? And there are some people who are really good at it, and there's some people who are really bad. There's some people who've had good luck at some points, or they had good luck when the economy was doing well and kicking butt, and everybody was able to make money. They did really well, not even running numbers. I know a buyer. I won't say this buyer's name on camera, but I know a buyer, investor, flipper who bought based on how much the property was. They did not look at comps at all. All they did just look, is it under this price? If it's under this price, I'm buying it. And then, when it came to time to selling the property, they didn't always make a profit because they didn't run their numbers. So running numbers is super important. And there's a lot of different ways that you can get the information and data free. So a lot of those ways are free, and a lot of the ways you have to spend money. I will say that if you're new to real estate investing, I would stick with the free softwares first. Learn those before you start paying for other software, because really the other softwares, while they may be good at running comps for whatever reason, that's not their main purpose, right? It is built into the system because comping is important, and they know as real estate investment software, they have to have a section for running comps or a way to run comps. Free softwares like Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, they're not thinking about the investor for the most part. They're thinking about the retail buyer. So those sites are designed for retail buyers. Some of them you can run comps on. Yes, if you know what you're doing, you can run comps on some of those softwares, and we'll show you that today in the video, but they're not built for that. So there are pros and cons. Now, there is now the free tool that you can use to run comps, and it is built for running comps, and that is Propwire, and we will show you that, and I will show you why that is quickly becoming one of my favorite softwares for running comps, and for certain reasons over others. But none of these softwares are perfect. None of them. I always have multiple tabs open, and I have several of these softwares open at a time, and it's because none of them are perfect. And I'm going to show you some of the pros and cons to a good deal of the ones that are more popular. I will say that I am not going to show you batch leads right now. I do not have a batch leads account any longer. Batch leads to me was so similar to PropStream that I didn't have a reason to keep both, and I had to make a decision. And there were a couple of things that led me to think and believe that PropStream had the advantage over batch leads. I will say this: batch leads comping section was miles above PropStream. Let me not say that. It's not miles above, but it was better than PropStream. And I did enjoy comping on it very much. So if you'd like to look at batch, that is an option that you can take, but it's not something that I'm going to get into on this video because I don't have an account, and I will not purchase an account right at this time because I just don't have a need for it. But it is one that's left out of this video for that reason. But other than that, I'm trying to go over like the main ones that I do use or that I do know about, and so that you can kind of get an idea of what works well and what doesn't. I'm not here to teach you how to use these programs in this video, though you will see me kind of giving a overview of how the comp system works of each of these. I do not go into depth or detail. So if you're looking for a video that's teaching you how to use them, that may be another video that I do down the line for each of the softwares. I think they each deserve their own video. But this is just kind of an overview video, just kind of going into why each of these softwares can be beneficial and their pros and cons, and why I have used all of them, and I will continue to kind of use all of them as of now. I will say I may leave some of them in the future because I have sometimes dropped an account here or there, or picked up an account because I don't feel like I need it anymore for whatever reason. Some of these softwares just don't, it doesn't make sense to have them. But again, if you're new into this business, you're looking to figure out how to run comps, and if you can do it on free software, you can do it without paying a dime. You don't need the prop stream. You don't need Privy. You don't need batch leads. You can do it with the free softwares. I promise you can still do it, and we'll get into that now. I do not recommend you getting shiny object syndrome ever in your journey. That means if you see somebody who's pitching some kind of software that does it all and it's going to be tremendous, this is the best, there's none of that. Everybody I know who's in this business is bouncing around just like I am. You will see me. There's a reason why I'm bouncing around from software to software during the days, because they do not all have the information. For the most part, it's the photos. I'm going to tell you, it's photos. Sometimes it's the square footage that they don't have. Sometimes they don't have the bed and bath count. But when you're running comps, you want to know if your comp property has been renovated and how much the renovation was put into it. You need to know this. That's how you come up with the price point, right? And if the software that you're using does not have a photo, then you have to bounce to another software that may have it. And it's just, I don't get why all these software providers don't have all the information, or don't know that we as real estate investors want all that information. You got to find a way to get all that information to one software. If one can do it, I will leave all the others alone, I promise you. But at this point, none of them have it perfect. They just all have some benefits, pros and cons. So hopefully this video helps you out with the pros and cons. I'm going to get into it now, and hopefully this helps you. So let's go. We're going to go into Propwire first, which is a great software. When you get it, you just have to set up an account. You can set up your account through Google, your Google Gmail account, and it'll just kind of work. It's not paid, but it does. If you're looking for lists and stuff like that, you can pull lists, so that's great. You can pull like a cash buyers list. I'm always pulling cash buyer lists from here, and it works great. And if MLS deals, on market deals are also a thing on here that I use. So for that, the list pulling is great. But for comping, it is also very nice. And we're going to pop in a address that I have here of a property that's found on the MLS in Florida, Tampa, and it looks kind of like a cool little house there, right? It's got the photos here, so they do a good job in providing you with that. You can look at the owner information. They do have skip tracing if you wanted to skip trace somebody, but we're looking at the comping, right? That's the main thing that we're looking at, and the comping section is pretty cool. You know, you have the filters over here on the right, and I usually will filter for about 6 to 3 months, depending on what results I'm getting. Filter for the square feet, I'm doing like 20%. That's the same thing I do on Privy. Privy is much like Privy in that way that it gives you a percentage of square feet, where others kind of have a drop down list of different tiers. They'll go up like 200 square feet each tier or something like that. Like with Redfin and Zillow, you have like a drop down list. That's not as accurate, I would say. So that's nice that's one of the pros for Propwire here, and as well as Privy. That is the paid software. So then you can do, say same number of bedrooms, or you can do like plus or minus the same amount. So if you don't want to get deadly accurate, but you want to be within a range, right? I might do the same thing for bathrooms, between about a range of plus or minus one bed or bath. Square footage. I don't necessarily mess with this all the time because I feel like I can just kind of look on the map if I zoom in enough and kind of determine what size the lot is. Okay, you can kind of see what size the lots are in these neighborhoods based on that. And if your comp isn't much different, then visually you can see it. So I don't tend to mess around with the lot size too much unless you're in an area where you can see a map like this and things don't, the spread between houses looks like it varies tremendously. Here you can kind of see the houses are about equal distance apart, which means the lot sizes are going to be comparable, which is why I don't do that. Again, it's a judgment call based on photos or a map in this case. With year built, we're going to go within 10 years. I can't remember if ours had a garage or not. So I'm not going to mess with the garage thing right now. Unfortunately, it does not have that here, which other providers will actually, when they show you the subject property here and the subject property information, some of them will tell you whether it has a garage or not, like Privy does, which is why Privy is probably my top place to go and run comps, with Propwire being my second, between those two. And so my favorite places to comp, actually I will often choose Propwire over Privy because it just seems to be faster. The only difference is that I don't get a chance to look at the exteriors of the property. So here's one of the cons, right? These pop-ups, which I'm assuming are supposed to show pictures at some point, because Propwire is a new software, not everything is functioning properly all the time, it seems like. And this is one issue. I don't get to see the front of the house. When I hover over this thing, you would think that would show me a picture of the house. I mean, it looks like there's a picture that's supposed to be there, but it doesn't show one. So I don't get to, I know what the exterior of my property is, right? But I don't know what the exterior of the comp is. The other thing is, I wish that you could save by default your settings here, because often I do want to come back and look at the property. Now, I'm looking at the exterior, so there is a garage on it, right? There's a 2-car garage. I go back to comps now, and it's totally reset all my filters. So now I have to go back and I have to set it all up again. And that is really a hassle for me. I think that they should have a default, like allow you to save it, or at least let it stay the same when you're working in the one property. I think that is something they could work on. But it is, it's, like I said at the beginning of this video, none of these softwares are perfect. They are all subject to having flaws, and I wish I was a designer, because I would design this thing to take into account all this stuff. My thing is always speed and accuracy. So at any rate, you do the beds, the baths, and the year built. Do within 10 years. Let's see, we're going to go to within 1, 2, and I'm just going to leave the baths as any baths right now. We can kind of look on the thing here, and it kind of shows us properties. The other thing I wish is that you could like click on bed and bath count, and it would adjust this so the ones that have the same bed count would come up to the top. Or if you wanted the square footage, like on, I think it's PropStream allows you to do that. I'm trying to think of what other software allows you to do that. With Privy, you can just move the whole things. You just move them where you want to, and you can get rid of certain ones from off the screen if you don't like them as comps. With this one, you just check. So, I mean, you can see, okay, this one is 1,300 square feet, so I might check that one because it's close to my square foot, but the lot size is not the same, so maybe I don't want that one, right? This one is 1,200. It's got a This one has, it's a 4.2. The lot size is about the same. Build years, so I like that one. So let's see, because it's a little bit closer with the lot size. These lots are a little bit bigger as well. So let's say I like this one also. And then it kind of gives you an average of the number of properties. So if I throw in these three, it gives me an average of 231 as my ARV, my comp based value. And it says here that that's an average with the price per square feet. So it's looking at the price per square foot, and then it's giving you an average on the three that you've looked at. But let's go back up and look on the map and see where these things are located in comparison. So say that I wanted to only mess with a certain area, this area here. Say I know the subdivision begins here and ends here, right? Come on, thing. Now it's not wanting to move for me. Then I'm gonna hit enter. It's moving a little bit slow, but and so now that only gives me those properties there, so I can limit it down, and that is a big benefit. So now I have these comps, and I could say, okay, well this is my comp minus, it doesn't have the great lot size, but say I would say, okay, this is we got a 350 and a 270, and we'll go like this, and this gets me my number. Okay, 317. So I say, okay, that's my ARV. You could do that if you wanted to. I mean, I'm not here to teach you how to determine ARV in this video. I'm just showing you how these things function in order to get you comps. All right, so that is that tool. So hopefully I've shown you given you a pretty good reason why I like Propwire. It does a really good job. I like that you can draw. It does have its drawbacks. Again, you can't see the pictures of the exterior of the photo. Now you can come here and click on one, and it'll give you a new tab, and it will show you the exterior of the property normally, most times. What it doesn't do is it just sold, it doesn't give you the photos. If it's not, I found that for Propwire, if it's not active now, you normally don't get to see photos of the interior, which I think is problematic. I think that that is where Privy really kicks butt. It often will have the before and after photos, which really puts it miles above all the rest of the comp tools, is that it gives you that information. You can see the before and after photos, but again, it's rare that you actually get all of the before and after photos, because there are limits to which photos that they have. So we can let's take a look just to show you. We can hop in Privy real quick. And we have this photos, and we can go to the comps here and say this is a comp. So this is the beauty of comping and Privy. It's like all this stuff is right here in front of you. Like I go look at a comp and it's right there. Boom, I can see it. What I wish they had is a right left, like the right arrow, left arrow, so I can just click through the photos right there. But you have to kind of click in, and then you go back to CMA once you're finished. But the other good thing is if I come here, it will have like the before and after photos. Now let's see if it has the actual interior before shots. And no, it does not. It only has that one Google picture exterior. And that's what I'm saying. Like you sometimes have the photos and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't even get this. It's iffy. And for some reason it glitches the top of my screen recently. Only Privy does that, and I can't figure out why it's doing that. But it does tend to glitch. So that's a little bit of difference of my two favorites. But again, this was about the free software. So these tabs get out of control quick. The next free software I would say is that I use is Redfin. And we'll get here and say we're gonna look at that same property, right? So we're looking at the same property. You get all the property information, you get the MLS details, you get the agent's contact information sometimes. It's not all the time that Redfin will have it, but sometimes they provide it, and that's great. So you're like, okay, well, how you run a comp on Redfin? With Redfin, you're gonna see this little map. You can't mistake it with this other map here. This little map right beneath the photos to the right, you click on that, it's going to open a bigger map. From there, you go to nearby homes for sale, right? Now, I did favorite the property that we're looking at, and this is showing you houses for sale, right? Where you're like, well, that's not helping with comps. It's just helping me show me what else, whether the houses are for sale. But if you click this to sold, and go into the last 6 months rather than the last 3. And then you go to the filter, and you can filter it down for, your bed and bath count. Let's see, we want 3 and up. Any bath. We're going to go with only houses. Last 6 months, property square footage. What's the square footage on this house here? I have it on another screen. Let's see, it is 1338, so about 1,400 square feet. Roughly, so we want about 2 over that, 1,600 square feet. Year build is 1950, so we want to go about 10 years above that. We're not gonna. We can say we wanted to do it's 1950 build, so we go. Maybe want to look at a range. You can do that with this as well. Say it's 19, so we go 1,200 square feet. Exclude these. You can do all kinds of things with the filters, and we're just going to say, okay, let's give me the 2 houses that you have here. Now the beauty of Redfin is that you can scroll. This is the arrow thing I was telling you about. Like we can go in here and we can scroll. Now you don't have your subject property information, which is problematic. But with Zillow and Redfin and the ones that are the big well-known companies they don't build these things for you to run comps. We just found ways that you can do comps on it. So they're not built for doing comps. The same way the Propwire, that software is built for running comps. So it's going to show you your subject property here. Same with Privy, the paid software, right? It's going to show you your property lives here, right? Your subject property. And then everything else is here down at the bottom, and then it shows you the actives. These are what's active on the market now. It shows you your solds. Then you can go into settings and change all that stuff here. But that's the paid software. Let's get back into Redfin. And we've said what we want, and we can kind of hover over these things, click on them, and they show up here, which is good because you now have them on the screen. Our subject property is somewhere on this street. So we got this one. Oops. It will pull it up in a different, open it up in a different screen if you do that. But this one looks like it's been renovated. This is a renovated comp here. We can take a look at the photos. That's what I love. I love about Redfin is that I can look at the comps right there, and I can scroll through and see all the pictures. I don't have to go to that other screen. I have to pop open another thing, and the photos are usually going to be there. Redfin and Zillow, the benefits of using those 2 softwares is that they have the photos, I would say most of the time, of other properties, and they don't delete them from their website. It's not conditional only if it's on the MLS. It's not like, okay, they have access to this MLS, but they don't have access to that MLS. Like it's like some of the paid software, it's iffy. It's iffy with the paid softwares. The trailblazing companies, the companies that have been around for years, like Redfin, Realtor, Zillow, they're gonna have photos most of the time. And when one doesn't, the other one often does. So between Redfin, Zillow, and realtor, you're going to get some photos, right? Usually. Not always. But you can't, I don't know how to run comps on realtor. I don't think that there's a way. I haven't seen a way to do it. But anyway, so that's how we would get a comp here on Redfin. Now, we can go to Zillow. And Zillow is great. It's what I used to use most often to run comps. And I think that you see it a lot. Other YouTube channels are showing you how to do comps on Zillow all the time. I think it's a great software because I think Zillow is, I would say, of all these softwares, Zillow is probably like the leader in terms of softwares for people looking at properties online. It's like probably the most used software online for property searches, just with regular homeowners, people going to find rental properties, that sort of thing. It holds the mark. It's probably the market leader, I would say. So for that reason, it has benefits. So one of the benefits is that Zillow has a great app on the phone, and you can actually comp on the phone if you're out and about and need to run a comp. Zillow has the phone app, and you can do the same thing on the phone. Some of the benefits of Zillow are the photos are great. It doesn't have the right left things like Redfin does when you're comping properties. I do like to use the favorite button on both Redfin and Zillow. I don't tend to favorite properties on Redfin for other reasons because I use Redfin to pull lists. Redfin does have some amount of data that you can actually download in a CSV file. Zillow does not. So I do tend to save properties, and the reason for that is what I'm about to show you now, which is when you're running a comp on Zillow, you have your property here, and we typed in the address here, and you see this map in the background here, and that map is where this house is. It's sometimes what will happen is you won't get a map that it's like an earth photo, like a photo of the top of the earth, or a map that has trees. It shows the roofs of houses. What you'll get instead is like this picture, or this art, or this art, or what can this? It's like a graphic. And I'll show you what I mean now. So sometimes you'll get this, a street view, which is cool because it shows you, the lot size. You can kind of compare the lot sizes here and say, okay, this lot is this size, this one is that size. You kind of get that different view. But the satellite view, you still get those lines, and you also get to see the top roofs of houses. This is beneficial sometimes. Like sometimes you'll find that you don't have the square foot information for some of these properties. The comps that you may have it for your subject property, but you won't have it for the comps. So what I do is I look at the roof size compared to my subject property, and I'll say, okay, well, my subject property's roof looks like this, and I zoom in and look at, okay, the other roofs. My subject property is about the same size roof, so it's probably about the same size property. That can be beneficial. But I'm not seeing, okay, there's our subject property. So the reason I hearted it is so that you can see it, so we know where it is. So it's our subject property is here. We have a few comps here and here. So running comps, how do I get information on the comps? So now that you've clicked into the map from the actual property, and your property still lives here, you can kind of see it here. Okay, so you come back here. So okay, now it's showing you the graphic rather than the zoom in. I don't know why Zillow does that, and that makes it a challenge sometimes, because now I come back here and everything has changed. It refreshed everything, all of my settings. I want to go to solds. And you see we have a huge amount of properties here because we're not zoomed. If you just zoom in, it's going to take you to your property is somewhere around. I think our property is right there. Okay, so we're going to go to deselect everything but houses and apply. We're going to go to square footage. Our square foot was 1338, so we can go up to about 15. I'd like to go to 600, but it's not there. That's the kind of thing about these. They're not built for comping, so it's not going to give you an exact. It will let you get you. Now, Zillow will get you the exact number on a year built, which I really like. So ours is a 1950, so I like 10 years. So we'll go to 1960, right? And then we can go to like 1940 on the lower. Now, I normally don't do a lower one because I figure if the property is older and it's sold for more, that gives us a good indication that this is a nice area. It just kind of tells us a story. We're going to go within the last 6 months. Usually I'm within the last 90 days, but right now we're going to go 6 months just because this is not a video on how to comp. Again, it's just a video of how you can use these free softwares and the difference between the free ones and the others. So then you can click on your comp here and pull up the information on that one, pull up photos if they have any. Again, Zillow is not showing us any of the interior photos, although it just sold. You imagine that it would have had photos probably when the property was for sale. Maybe all of those photos would be there, but right now there's not. You have this property over here. It's a 2-1, and we can take a look at it. It also doesn't have the interior photos, but it doesn't look like it was renovated from that photo. So zoom out a little bit, see if anything else pops up that's kind of close to our property. Get an idea of, okay, so this one is good. I think we saw this one on another, yeah, we're looking at it here, but Redfin has the interior photos. We don't have the interior photos with Zillow. So, but that is how you would run a comp on Zillow. You'd find your comps anyway, just by kind of like hovering over, seeing. And it does give you a little small picture, like we were hoping that Propwire would give us, but it didn't. I like the Propwire's I'm hopeful that Propwire will implement that and the photo will be the size that it looks in the pop-up now, because it looks to be pretty large, like it's going to pop up pretty large, but right now it's not doing it. But Zillow does, and it pops up that information that you need as well. But again, you don't have your subject property anywhere near here. So usually what I would do with Zillow when I first started is I would pull Zillow up on 2 screens, have the property information on one screen, and then have this map on the other to kind of figure out whether these comps made sense and if they were matches with my comp or not. And you have Redfin, which has the benefit of having clickable photos here and often having the photos when other sites don't. So that's beneficial. And we have Propwire again, which is really cool because you can draw maps and you have the information of the subject property here. So when you kind of figure out, but then you don't have your comps available to you right there and then, and it's likely not to have the photos. It's going to open it up in another tab to look at it. So it has some cons. And then you have Privy software, which is the one that I tend to use, is probably my favorite because it pops up the information that you need here when you need it. And as a bonus, we can always look at, say, a prop stream. I also have a prop stream account, so you can log in here real quick and see that it takes a little while to get into the system, but let's see. We're going to go to that same property. I do not like comping on prop stream much at all, but it can be done. So here you have all your property information. You go to comparables, and you do have all the information right here in front of you. I feel like PropStream has a tendency not to have the photos, but it actually tells you it doesn't have the photos. Like, it tells you which ones have photos and which don't with this camera here. You have the ability to give a bedroom count. You can adjust this, all these variables you can adjust accurately. There's no percentages. It's all actual numbers, which is very helpful. If you want it, you can get super accurate. You know, the reason I love PropStream is my favorite data provider. And the reason it's been my favorite, I've tried them all for the most part. I've used ListSource, I've used Batch Leads, I use Privy still, I use Propwire, and I pull data from Redfin when it allows it, where it's available, right? But there's none that is as powerful as PropStream. PropStream is the king of data, and some people will try to argue you otherwise, but I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite things about the comp tool in PropStream is that it will eliminate the multi-parcel sales. Now, what does that mean? That basically means that if a property was purchased in a package, say a landlord sold 3 of his properties in one to one other buyer, right? Well, the problem is the data doesn't separate all those properties. It shows it as one sale. So if you're clicking around and those properties may not be anywhere near close to each other, they can be in a whole different area of town, right? So it's not going to show up on the map. So if this property here was bought in a multi-parcel sale, wasn't because it's not. But if say it was, it may show up as, say this property showed up. We're looking at a whole bunch of $250,000, the $250,000 range. You have a few that may have be $260. You have some $240, $220. So you're trying to figure out what the ARV is, and you have all these 260s, 240s, and now all of a sudden you see one that sold for $340, and you're like, whoa, well, why is that? And you look at the picture, and it's like, there's nothing better about this property than any of the rest. It doesn't look like it's renovated, but it sold for $340. Well, some people will just go ahead and use it as a comp. They don't start asking themselves the question. The problem with that is that it may have been bought in a package deal, and the brilliant thing that PropStream does is it excludes you can choose to exclude any of those properties, and they don't show up anymore. And you know, if that property is no longer there when you hit the exclusion, that property was purchased in a multi-property sale. Now, sometimes it's just obvious because it'll be like $1 million, and you're like, well, why is that property $1 million where everything else is in the 250 range? It's because somebody bought like 4 of them. And it's showing as the one. So that is the one thing that I wish that all these other comp tools would implement that PropStream has. So why don't I use PropStream to run comps? For the most part, it boils down to one thing only, and that is that PropStream, as brilliant as they are with the data, they're not brilliant enough to allow you to keep the app open for a amount of time. If you don't deal with the app for a few minutes, it will log you out. And then you have to log back in, and it takes too much time. If you're running comps all day and you're getting multiple properties thrown at you by agents or wholesalers or whoever's giving you properties, and you want to run comps all the time, and you just happen to step away for lunch or something and you come back to sit down, like, I want to be able to work at the speed of thought. Like, as soon as the property comes in, I want to be able to run it. The problem is with PropStream is that it logs you out. So then you got to log back in. I hate it. And it takes a long time to log into PropStream. So I don't use it. I've gotten to the point where I just can't stand it. It just takes too long. I only use it for data. And mostly these days it's importing data, because I'm importing data that I'm pulling from Redfin MLS data into the system so I can pull out the numbers and contact information from agents, which is it's amazing for, but it's an extra fee even for that. I'm thinking of eventually leaving PropStream because although it's the best data provider, it does have some faults, and it's like there's so many options. If I put 4 of these other sites together, I can get myself something similar to PropStream. Privy is another one that I love Privy to death, but I would leave it if the comps weren't so great. Like if Propwire started having all the photos, and it was easy, it didn't open it up on a secondary screen, like it didn't open it up on a tab, and there was some way that it showed it on the page. Man, let me tell you. Or if you could import a list. Now, Propwire allows you, they're running skip tracing. You would think they would allow you to import a list. If they ever come up with importing a list, I'm gone from PropStream. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not messing with PropStream anymore, because Propwire will have the one thing that keeps me in PropStream, but I'm paying $120 a month for it, right? So I'd much rather live in Propwire. It gives me the same information. It's just that I can't import a list, and I need to be able to import a list. I'm pulling lists from other places. I pull lists from all these different sites, and I want to be able to mix and match and pull stuff, and the way my workflow is, I gotta have that ability, and they don't. So again, with PropStream, you can run comps on here, and it's great. It's got the MLS versus public record, and that's kind of cool too. But if you go with all MLS, it's going to exclude the multi-parcel sales. For some reason, it only shows up on the public records. I guess it shows because they're pulling it from tax records. That makes sense. It does let you dial stuff in much more, but again, like, you have to go in details, and this other thing is popping up a whole other screen. Let's see how long it takes to pull this. It's just slow software because there's so much data that I get impatient with it. So that could just be my thing. And then there usually aren't pictures. So you get this overhead view a lot of times as your main photo. What can I do with that? Like, I can't do anything with an overhead photo. Some of them will have photos. This one has a photo. We can look at it, and it's kind of cool. All right, gives me an idea about it. And, when they have the photo, you can click over here, and it's much faster than having to load the whole property information details. But how many of them are there? There's only 2 of all these. How many comps is this? 24 comps. We've only got 2 that have photos. That's problematic for me. So I'm not competent in this software for the most part. There's other reasons why I love PropStream, and I'll show you those on down the line. But anyway, I've gone on for entirely too long. This video was supposed to be just about the free softwares, but I kind of wanted to show you and compare some of the other ones as well, so you can kind of get an idea. I think that's the better way to give you all this information, is kind of show you what everything does. And now that I've shown you, now you can go and take it and make an educated decision, rather than just listening to people who are either getting paid, or they have some kind of other ulterior motive to why they're actually showing you these softwares. Again, I love all these softwares. I love tinkering around with software. That's what my channel will be about for the most part, is how to manipulate all softwares and how to run your systems and stuff. That's who I am. I'm not the salesman. I'm not the guy who's going to teach you how to get on the phone and talk to people. My thing is messing around with data, messing around with information. I am a sort of a nerd in that way. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're getting a lot out of it. I hope that this didn't go too long and you clicked off. But if you did, oh well. It is what it is. I appreciate you looking. Chief first, and I'm out.